Welcome back to the Witch's Way podcast. This is Kat.
And Jamie. And today's podcast is about your inner witch. It's embracing your magical self at any age.
No matter where you are in your life, you can become your witchy self.
Yeah, you can connect with it.
I really started this at 60 or so, even though I feel like I was a witch all my life. But I didn't really identify as that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that too.
Yeah, because it was not really a thing. But I definitely knew I was into things, trying to understand things like astrology and tarot and stuff like that. So
there's things that we're attracted to, and I think that this is part of. We don't claim it sometimes when we're young because of many reasons, right? We could have a whole list, but truly, like, that's why we're calling this awakening your witch at any stage of life, because you probably always had this witchy side and it was more dormant, or it didn't come out all the time, but you had the inner conversations, you felt the things, you're attracted to stuff.
And maybe you didn't even call it witch. Maybe you called it something else, or maybe you didn't know what to call it.
I mean, there's lots of skills and practices that can be put in the witchcraft category, and even the label of witch many people are uncomfortable with. And at first I just called myself pagan because I didn't want to take on a label right away.
Yeah.
And pagan was more of like being from a time, it meant like from the old country. And that's how my soul felt. My soul felt from like it was from the old country. Mm-hmm. The way that they practiced, the things they did, the way they honored the earth, the turning of the seasons, that was what really drew me in, is wanting to like feel more connected to the earth, feel more connected to why I'm here, giving it more purpose than just go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, get a retirement, and fucking die. Like, what?
Yeah.
There's got to be more. So I think that many women feel disconnected from their magical selves due to those societal pressures or like the family obligations. And we even look for a community. Like, I bet if you felt like you were into these things and then you found a friend who was a little more overtly into it, you were like, fuck yeah, that's my people. And you went for it, because you were like, I think it's much easier to get involved in a practice that's maybe not the mainstream when you've got somebody else to do it with, because there's safety in numbers, right?
Absolutely. That's how it started for me. Like the truly witchcraft practice really started for me once I moved to Florida and I observed what you and your sister were doing, and I was like, I want to be part of that.
Yeah.
I really love what you guys are doing. I love the vibe of it.
Exactly.
I love the feeling that I get when I'm involved in it. I loved everything about it.
Yeah.
And so I embraced it all, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a witch.
I think many of us feel it early, but we end up suppressing it, right? So, like, I really felt it as a kid. And then through my teen years, I didn't think about that shit. I was like, how am I going to know if a boy likes me? What am I going to do about high school? When is my first kiss going to be? Like, I got consumed with all these other things rather than, as a kid, I was really into. You remember, I used to like run off into the woods and build houses out there and not want to come home. And
I remember something that she did that's just the cutest thing I ever remember about in my life. So do you remember when you built the bird's nests when we lived on 84th?
My God.
When we lived on 84th place?
In the grass.
Yeah, she built these
human-sized bird nests.
So Jamie was always loved nature and was very connected
nature, animals,
with nature.
Yeah, everything.
And would take her little sister, who was probably 4 or 5 years old, and her little friend Sheena, and into the woods. So we had woods near our house, and they would just disappear into the woods. And she was just exploring and going through the streams and finding cool rocks and
the trees and the brambles and the animals and So the bird nest. I feel like we got to explain this now because people are like, "What the fuck? What do you mean?"
Yeah, the bird nest. Tell them about that, because I remember that. I was like, that's the fucking cutest thing I've ever heard.
I have that memory. Like, I know it. We used to eat the clovers too. No idea if there were pesticides or anything straight. Like, we didn't know anything about that back then. But basically, our community, which were all duplexes, our street was like a big U. So all the backyards were connected. So we had this really expansive backyard, no fences.
The back of our yard was huge, and took a long time to mow. I remember that. Yeah,
and all of them were like that. There were these long backyards that all connected. So there were probably 8 houses, and all of the backyards connected. So it was really funny when we all mowed that all these 8 patches were at different heights and stuff. Mm-hmm. But All right, so we had some neighbors who weren't good at mowing often, and there were no HOAs to, like, you know, tell them you better mow your grass. So people just mowed whenever they wanted or when they hired the neighborhood kid to do it. Well, there were probably 3 houses that waited a really long time, and it was like running through what I imagined as a wheat field. I'd never been in a wheat field before, but the grass was so long. I was like, look at us. We're in like the old timey wheat fields. We're all fucking in the 1800s.
Of course, you remember they're much smaller than little smaller
like
human
now
beings.
Now it would be knee-high grass, but back then it was like up to our waist.
Little smaller human beings running through this tall grass.
We hadn't seen grass like that. You know, we were originally from California, so there wasn't grass like that. There were like, it was very desert, and so being in Kansas, it was all this lush green. Anyways, when the neighbors finally cut all this grass, it just laid over in these heaps. And we went out there as kids, and we literally sat ourselves in the grass, cleared out a spot, and then brushed all of the big bundles of the long grass around us and made these huge bird nest looking things and then hid in them. Like, I'm sure people could see us, but in our heads we were hiding. We were definitely like low key. We were invisible.
Just the cutest thing ever. And
I don't know why.
That is the kind of stuff you would do as a kid.
All the time.
So I'm not surprised that you tapped into that the part of witchcraft that is connected to nature is what really spoke to you.
100%. Because the only other option out there for me at the time was Christianity. No other religions were spoke of, right? So Christianity. And this was, in my eyes as a little kid, like you could be becoming one with the earth and the animals, or you could be praying to a dead guy on a cross with blood and looking like very scary, and the needle, not the needles, the crown of thorns on his head. And like, so I think I'd already gone to a Catholic church once because the girl up the street, her parents were Catholic. I did that one time and I was like, never fucking again. You're not allowed to speak. I was like, this is the most uncomfortable I've ever been. Worse than school, right? And then I went to a Baptist, which was more fun and singing and playing. I was like, oh, that's okay. That's fun. But again, I was like, I don't understand what we're doing. I don't understand why. And the kids were kept separate from the adults. So that was at least enjoyable. But that was my exposure to purpose in this world. You know?
So I was raised Catholic, and I tried on a lot of different religions, and what I decided with my own children was that I was not going to, I made the conscious decision, I think, not to give them a religion. I wanted them to be able to choose for themselves.
Yeah, she didn't even influence us one way or another.
Yeah,
she didn't bring up any of it.
Because I had to go, you know, I was made to go to church. Even as a teenager, I was forced to go to church when I did not want to go. And that was a really bad experience for me. It really turned me off to religion, being forced to go. Yeah. Because somebody else is like, no, you have to go to church on Sunday.
Forced to believe something. You're like, I can't wrap my head around that.
I was not going to do that with my kids. So consequently, my kids grew up with zero influence about religion.
And came out as witches.
I didn't talk bad about it. I just was not going to make them go because I wasn't going.
Yeah.
And I
that was
sure
true.
as hell wasn't.
It was a blank slate.
If they met friends that they wanted to go to church with, I wasn't like I told them, no, you can't go to church. I don't want you to be exposed to those people. I didn't think
never.
Like that.
No, she didn't say anything like that.
So I'm not. It's like so not surprising that you like went down that road based on your connection, your just natural connection with nature.
With nature, and exploring all of that.
And seeking. You know, the seeking, like maybe you didn't even know what you were seeking when you started down the path, the nature path or the witch path. Maybe you weren't seeking. Yeah, you were just curious.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if I had knowledge of any witchcraft stuff or.
So the whole witchcraft thing really came into. How long ago did this become a thing?
Well, like when it became popular.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager, like when the movie The Craft. I don't know what year that came out. But
it's got to be 20 years ago.
I mean, I graduated high school in 99, and I think I must have seen that movie by the time I was 16, maybe.
Oh, wow, it's longer than
15, maybe. Fuck.
25 years ago?
I mean, I definitely saw it when I still lived at home. So, I don't know. I wish we could go and Google that really quick.
Well, I think what we were talking about, to get back to we got off track, which is so normal for us. If you're a new listener to this podcast, you will notice that we diverge into these different areas. We're like, I have a memory of you making bird's nest, and that was just the cutest thing ever. Yeah. But, you know, we're talking about embracing your inner witch at any stage, and like, what is your inner witch? And, you know, I was thinking when you were first talking about this, about how we suppress that. I was thinking about when we were little girls, at least when I was a little girl, we were like, you're princesses, you know, you're imagining that you're princesses, and how that could correlate, because that's magical, right? When
it is that magical, mindset of anything's possible, magical things happen.
Yes.
You know, that you can communicate with things like animals, trees, birds, like whatever a magical crystal necklace, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
It really did spark that. The talking animals. I mean, I can remember going through the woods and thinking that I could, it sounds delusional, but in my mind, I remember one day we were going to track the deer, okay? Mm-hmm. Why the fuck do I want to track deer? I have no idea. My little kid mind was always on some things. So I knew what deer hoof prints looked like. There was all this stuff. And sure enough, I don't know how, Mom, honestly. And actually, then we were really scared because we got face to face with them. And it was very scary to come upon a crowd of deer, like over a cliff where they were above us and we were below, climbing up thinking we would find them. I don't know that I believed I would actually find them. It was just a fun adventure to make up. But when we ran straight into the deer, we all screamed and ran the other way. It was like, it wasn't this peaceful, like, Bambi moment at all.
No, I can imagine a herd of deer, or that's what you call them, a herd.
Yeah,
a bunch of deer
staring at us. I mean, because we surprised them. They're huge.
They're huge.
Like, I don't think I realized that as a kid. I'd never been face to face with one. We would see them across the field, and I was like, oh, they're like big dogs. Like, they'll be fine. No, not when you're 10. See, I don't know where we were going with that, but princess is the magical thinking.
Yeah, so when you're little, when
you're allowed. How about that?
You're allowed
to think magically. That's right. You're allowed to think magically when you're small.
But then, as you grow up, you're like, oh no, get into the real world.
Get realistic.
Yeah, get realistic about your life. Get a real
job. Get a real dream. Be realistic. Real.
Get out of that fantasy world.
Yeah.
What they called a fantasy world, and I would have called it just a magical world where anything was possible.
Mm-hmm. It's so the labels that start getting pressed on your ideas of what you want life to be like, I think that it ends up that we are told by so many sources that is not a way to live your life, believing in magic, believing in the impossible.
And if you happen to be in any kind of religion that you might have heard something about a witch being evil, or you might have read something about that or been exposed to that kind of language where witches were devil worshippers and shit like that, because that's something that some religions talk about,
that say that they put that in a context of that's what it really is, that's what witches do. That's why the word witch has such an eerie feeling to it. It's why it's associated with in South Carolina, they had this thing called the witch riding your back. Have you ever heard that?
No.
It's when you get like the shivers or the chills on the back of your neck, like something tingles.
The hair stands up. Your intuition. Yeah, I was like,
it's not I never thought of it as an intuition. Like, they made it sound scary. Like, if the hair stands up on the back of your neck, like there's a ghost in the room. That's what we would have said we're from. In South Carolina, they said that's the witch riding your back, and I'm like, that just sounds fucking creepy. Like, why would you call it that? So you get these other stories that go along with it that sort of solidify the label with maliciousness
and negativity.
Yeah, and sort of the evil side, the dark side, the things that you don't want to fuck with, so you don't even say it. You can't even bring yourself to dabble in anything that said witch because of what you grew up with believing that it was, right?
And if that wasn't enough for you, then you have the influences of Hollywood.
Oh, God,
right?
all the Hollywood shit.
And all the scary movies.
Yeah.
And, if they're not scary movies, then there are things like The Craft, where it's this unrealistic view of what witchcraft is, which you're calling the corners and controlling the sea or whatever. I don't really
They were trying to invoke a deity?
Yeah, I don't remember. I just remember the one scene where something was swirling around. So, you get this other thing, you get this other message that's what witchcraft is.
Yeah. Or that you're going to levitate, you're going to, like glamour magic, you're going to actually change your hair color, swiping your hands over your hair. There's a lot of Hollywood fantasy in that. I don't like to shoot down anything that people think is possible for them that I might not think is possible for me. So I leave it open to everything. Whatever it is that you want to believe in and try and do, go ahead. I don't want to shoot things down just because I'm not willing to try them or believe in them. And I guess that's where the outside world, when it looks at our practices, that's what they want to do. Like, it's not possible for them because they could never believe it is possible for them. And that's where that line is sort of drawn, I guess. When you start or stop believing in things being magical and having energetic properties, and that something can influence you without saying anything or doing anything, just sitting in a room full of crystals, can that really influence your energy? Can it change things about yourself? Can it balance, your chakras? I mean, that's what I think of. And for me, yes, that's 1,000% true. If you don't have experience with it, or you're not turned on to that side of it, then you won't try it, and you won't ever say, like, it's possible for you. That's it. That's the biggest difference, is like, is it possible for you? You got to believe it is.
Well, and when you come to this stage in your life where you're ready to start embracing that inner magical self, even if we don't want to call it a witch, just say the magic that's inside of you, that's been inside of you since you were a little girl.
Little kid, yeah.
A little kid. Mm-hmm. And then that got suppressed by all of the messages that you got as you grew up and came into adulthood and had to be responsible and all that stuff. So if you're at a place where you're like, okay, so how do I start this? Because our audience is mostly new witches, we think, or people who are coming back into the practice. So what do we do to embrace that? So we're here to tell you that, or to share with you that these things can start really, really small. So
whatever you choose to do.
If you're brand new and you're overwhelmed with the amount of information that you find on every social media. There's so much of it.
On everywhere.
And
everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a different practice.
There's hundreds of books, if not thousands of books that you can read. Thousands. And I remember reading one Facebook post where the poster said, I've read every book. When can I do a spell? Because she didn't know. She's like reading all this books, and she felt uncertain of her, like, is it okay? Am I going to
mess? She's ready.
Yeah, or am I going to mess anything up? There's a lot of fear around that. So, the thing that you can do to begin this journey of embracing that your magical self. Mm-hmm. Just know that you can start really small. That you don't have to do anything, but. Starting meditation, I think that's a really good place to start. And if you're not into meditation, what woman doesn't love the moon? Are we like, is there any woman that you know that's not attracted to the moon?
I've not met one yet.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, there's definitely women I haven't asked about it yet, but I think that
because it's that feminine representation. The sun is the male. And maybe not all, but every woman I've met that I know anyway is like drawn to the moon.
Sure, it's intoxicating. I think that the other thing is, for us, we want you guys to know that one of the reasons why we started the podcast, the YouTube channel, the school, everything that we've done, is because it's a lot easier to get into a practice when you have a community. And I know we don't get to directly interact with a lot of people, a lot of witches out there, but we try as best as we possibly can, because when you have a community that stands with you that you can ask questions to, it's so much easier to feel like you're ready, because if something happens, you're like, I know who I can turn to. I know that I can send them a note, a message. Yeah, absolutely. And that is the goal. Our goal in everything that we do is to empower women like you to create a practice that is authentic and personal for you, and to have us here as online mentors or people that you can...
A resource?
A resource, definitely. Yeah. That's why we put ourselves out there right now, is to become that community that makes you feel safe and accepted.
So one of the easiest ways to connect with your inner witch is to connect with the natural world.
The natural world, in any capacity. What I thought about is... all the women I see collecting shells at the beach, I often wonder what they're going to do with them, and I wonder why why are they drawn to them? Yeah. Why do people go to the beach and pick up shells? What is it? And they don't realize that what they're doing is taking something that has the energy of a place they love. They're finding the beauty in this place, and they're taking it with them, and so they don't even know that would be technically witchcraft.
So it's an interesting thing when you say that is, I remember when we lived in the desert and you were little.
Oh, the rocks.
And we would go to, I remember walking, me, you, and John, and your dad, so this would be before your sister was born. and walking up this big hill and collecting the pretty rocks.
Oh, yeah.
Going through the desert
Just the
and
energy
collecting
of
the
it.
pretty
I
rocks.
swear,
Yeah.
I think that you can, when you get out into nature, this is how, I feel like I got 5 conversations in my head. Hold on. Let me start over. All right. When we step out into the world away from our homes, you are drawn to certain things in nature. You know, maybe you like the really nicely English garden manicured everything. Maybe you like the wild tropical rainforest look, you know, but we're drawn to these spaces, these areas in nature that provide a vibe for us that we feel really connected to. We're like, that is so my vibe.
Where do you go on vacation? Where do you take your? Do you go to
Mountains,
the mountains,
rivers, streams?
Do you go to the forest? Do you
The
go
Arctic?
camping?
Are you traveling
Well,
to
that might be a
Alaska?
clue for you.
Yeah.
Is like if you're brand new to this, like when you think of a vacation spot,
Yeah.
where do you choose to go? Are you drawn to the ocean?
Yeah.
The mountains
Yeah.
or something else?
The desert. I mean,
You know, are you going hiking?
yeah. I think when we start tuning into the natural spaces that we like, it helps define what kind of magic we're really into that is embracing the magic of those spaces. And I don't think that's as hard for people to grasp. It doesn't feel as fantasy as saying like the magic of the forest, the magic of the mountains,
Yeah.
the magic of the beach.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel actual magical to people, like spell magical.
Right.
But it holds the same power and energy. It is the exact same thing. It transports your personal energy to something else. You know what I thought of like when I was writing this is when we go to the beach and when we get there, we all sit in our chairs in the moment we're there, we go, oh God, I just love it here. Fuck, it's so pretty. Like, I just love the water. And we just get so into it so fast because it shifts us. You know, there's a shift in us when we're in those spaces.
Yeah, so for me, I sit down in a chair, I put my feet in the sand and my toes, and I'm like kind of digging my feet into it to get into that space. And then I can hear the waves, if there's a little bit of like waves, or if it's a very still day in the water and there's not waves, then I'm in awe of the colors.
The colors
of the ocean or the Gulf, because we're on the Gulf Coast. And, the birds that are flying, just all
the
things,
nature around,
all of the things that are happening around you. And then the next thing you know, I'm looking beside me and I'm seeing pretty shells and I'm starting to dig through the sand.
You're hoping to find a
shells.
shark's tooth. And, it becomes a whole thing where you're transported into that space. And that's where we can start to look for the magic that we're connected to, is in all of in the natural world around us. I think that that's the easiest way to connect to your inner witch, because connecting with nature is connecting with witchcraft.
Absolutely. And it's been that way. When you think about witches of old, what did they do? They worked with nature. They went out and collected. They went into the forest and found the herbs or the plants or the barks or the whatever that helped to heal people. And it's like even before they called them witches, they were healers or in like really like ancient times, like Bear Cave time.
Bear Cave, don't
Clan
bring
of
up.
the Bear,
Yeah,
Clan of the Bear Cave. Love that series.
Oh my gosh!
But they went out. They were healers. And
they
would
knew.
go out and they would find the barks that they could make the teas.
Yeah.
So it was always nature based.
It's all because in order for us to survive here, we have to rely on nature. Everything that sustains us comes from nature. Even all the shit that's grown in the laboratories and stuff. It is from something that we've collected in nature. We're not creating new shit. We're breaking down other stuff and building new bonds between elements. Maybe like that's how we got plastic.
Well, this is how we got medicines.
Yeah.
This is where medicines came from. Our early
medicines are from they're from the original medicines are from plants, and now they just recreate those compounds in the lab. They can do that. So, it mixes. Witchcraft and science do mix. There is a gray area of that, but it started with nature, and that's why I think the easiest way to connect with your inner witch is to connect with nature. Connect with a plant. Connect with something you love. Maybe you love roses. Maybe you love daisies or sunflowers. Those all hold an energy of something,
Well, yeah. So, how many things do you have in your house where you've collected little things of something like that?
I don't even know how to get rid of them once I'm like, okay, where do I put you now? I have rocks from all over the world. I have shells from all over the world. Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
I guess I'm telling the whole world too, but I don't think anybody from Japan's going to listen. So when I climbed Mount Fuji in Japan, I knew, like it says, do not take any lava rocks home with you. Ooh.
You took lava rocks home
I
with
had to. What do you mean? I climbed a fucking volcano. Yes, I had to. It was like, this is, and I already had the story. I was like, this is my religion. I get to do this.
Well,
like, I thought of that.
We went to Sedona and went walking through the hills and stuff there. I picked up, like, we were in the vortices.
Yeah.
You remember we were in that area where the vortices are.
Yeah.
So I took a little rock that was like that red rock. I don't know what that's called. I'm sure it has a name. So I took a little piece. It was probably 2 inches. And then I found a little branch from one of the trees. It was probably 3 or 4 inches.
Yeah.
It was kind of straight. It could have been like a mini wand.
Love it.
And then a pine cone. So I took those 3 things out of that space to take with me, and I still have them. Yeah. And I will always keep them because they have meaning to me for that space.
That energy.
And then the energy of that space and all and just like, and I love that, and I want to go take other trips other places and collect things too. But
I do that from probably all of the places that have loose rocks, you know. I collect just a little bit. When I was younger, I collected way too much, and now I can see that I only need a little bit. And this is not the podcast for it, but material spiritualism. Am I saying that the right way? Spiritual materialism. Which goes first? Materialism,
I don't know.
The materialism within spirituality, it's where you need more stuff to practice, is it's such a gimmick. Like, you don't need all the things to buy, to have the stones, the tool sets, the fucking 20, 100,000 tarot decks, even though we love them.
Yeah.
If you like those things, yes, collect them, have them for your personal collection, but it's not things you need. And a lot of times they make it about you need this very specific stone. We talk about this when we talk about pre-written spells. Yeah. Like, you have to have a garnet, you know, for this spell or it won't work. Okay, well, you know, that's pushing on the side of, like, now a witch is supposed to have every single kind of stone, every kind of herb. That's exhausting, and it's too much. There's got to be the replacement system. So another podcast another time. But when we're collecting things, what we're doing is we want to bring that energy with us. And
I think I remember, so I had never been to Florida until you guys moved here. And then when I came here, I wanted to take home like sand and water and stuff.
Oh,
you know, just like a jar to like take this back with me, to have this little, at the time, what I would have thought would be a souvenir. But I think I just wanted the energy of it, the reminder of it, to be like, to look at that. And then, and it kind of like invoked the memory, of whatever I was feeling that day. We went to Honeymoon Island or wherever it was that I collected that.
Oh, wow. Do you still have it?
No.
What'd you do with it?
I don't know.
Oh, shit.
I wish I did, though. Well, I moved. When I moved from Kansas City to Florida, I got rid of just about everything. So at that particular time, though, I wasn't in a spiritual place. So I wasn't really placing this spiritual significance on it that I would today. Today, that
you would know more.
I would know more, and it would have a lot more meaning. But I think the point of that is like I was drawn to that and wanted a piece of that and wanted to take that energy and carry it with me and carry it back to my home base where I was living at the time, so far away from my daughters and my grandchildren, you know. And so even though I didn't make that connection at that time, looking back now, I can make that connection.
Well, I don't know if you remember that my stepdad, who was a truck driver, and he went out to California. So you guys, when I was younger, probably 8, we moved from San Diego area to Kansas City.
We moved from Palm Springs.
Listen, I claimed San Diego, and that's it. Okay,
that's because that's where you were born. So
that's all I know. That was just like the best city to say in that just blanket statement.
Super easy
from there. But so we moved to Kansas City area, the outskirts. So we kind of lived in the country. It wasn't like the inner city. But once we moved there, I mean, this was a huge change for me. Even at 8 and 9 years old, I realized I missed the fucking beach so much. I missed the hot air. I missed everything about that environment. Mountains. I missed everything.
I missed the mountains because I grew up with mountains all around me. And then to go to Kansas and it just be so flat.
Yeah.
And that was really what I longed for. Not even the beach as much as, because
where
I grew up.
Yeah.
I grew up everywhere was mountains around me.
For me, it was definitely the water. I missed that so much. So one day I told my stepdad about this, and we'd probably been in Kansas 2 years, and he took a trip out to California, and he would always ask us, not always, but he would ask us, like, do you guys want anything from there, you know, trinkets or whatever? And I said, can you bring me back the ocean? I'm a young kid, right? And he goes, I think I can manage that. And I was so excited. I was like, I didn't even know what I was really asking for. And he basically brought back a mason jar, and he sealed it somehow. Like, it was vacuum sealed mason jar of the sand from, it really more looked like from the Laguna area or La Jolla or something, but because it had the sparklies in it, you know, even Coronado Island has that, like, it's the darker sand, but it's got all these flecks of sparklies. So he brought me back sand and ocean water, and inside there was actually like a mollusk shell even. Like, I don't know if he meant to do that, but I would shake it around. I'd move it around like it was a discovery jar. And I had that jar. Oh, you're going to make me cry. You're looking at me with emotional eyes. I had that jar forever, and I used to just tell myself, like, I'm gonna go back there one day. I'm gonna be at my home, because I hated Kansas so much growing up. It felt like I suffocated there. Sorry. But I just, like, that jar was hope for me, that I could have something else, that there was more later. But I had to wait, and I would turn this jar so much, you guys, that the top started rusting. I started putting clear duct tape, or, you know, just packing duct tape over the top of it. Now, let me tell you something. I didn't know this tape was so strong. The top of that shit rusted out, and the tape held together. I couldn't believe it, but I was, like, so careful after that. I was like, if this spills, I had no idea. Like, what? So when I was leaving for the Navy, finally, right? This is 10 years later. I've had this fucking jar of ocean water. And as I'm leaving for the Navy, I'm looking at my jar that I've been hoping for this life with, this jar of getting back to the ocean. And I knew, being in the Navy, I was going to be near water.
I was going to say, is it any wonder you chose the Navy?
Fuck so no, because I wanted to be near water. I just always knew. So I remember, this is like, I knew very little of witchcraft at that time. Again, you know, I knew enough, but I knew nothing of spells. Like, I was into tarot and astrology, but I hadn't really done, like, the spell work stuff and all of that. So I'd released my first spell before I even knew what it was. I went outside of our house, and I decided I would open and let it go. I couldn't return it to where it came from, right? But I was going to let it go because I didn't know what else to do with it. You're going to return it to the earth. I returned it. I was in this whole moment of, like, sacredness, and my dreams were being fulfilled, and I was leaving for the Navy in 5 days, and I was so fucking ready, and all my shit was packed, and I was like, I can't take you with me. But, like, you've been with me this whole time, reminded me of, like, there'll be something better. And this is how I was, right? Really emotional. I opened it up. It smelled like shit. It was such a shock. I was like, oh God, get out of here. This whole time you've been reeking like a pile of doo-doo. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's the funny thing about the stuff that comes out of the ocean. When it can really smell so bad. After you keep it for a while.
10-year-old ocean water really smells
Well,
bad.
I remember when I got here and I was collecting, like, shells and things and bringing them home, and you guys are like, leave it outside to dry in the sun, because if you take it in the house, it's going to stink.
Yeah, the stuff gets trapped in there. I mean, so I learned later, because in the Navy we actually have these systems that are defense for biochemical warfare, right? So it's called AFFF. What it is it's basically a foaming thing that goes over the entire ship to stop us from chemical warfare. So I learned in the Navy that the ocean water that we suck up that activates this powder that was this foam, it sits in the tubes for a long time. And so when they release it, that smell of when I released my jar came out, and I was like, what the fuck is the sewage smell? This is what are we doing? What's happening? Something's wrong. And they were like, no, that's AFFF, like, because we're using ocean water that's been sitting. So I learned that all the little microscopic zooplankton and little things, when they die, they smell like
death,
manure, like a sewage plant. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So I learned that later in the Navy on why my ocean water smelled so bad.
So I don't remember the jar, but I remember her room was always a collection of all these little things. Everything was always like in order on little shelves or in little nooks and things like that. And I wonder if you can remember where you kept that, and if it was anything like, did you not unknowingly have a little altar for that?
I had so many little altars, and what they were intentions, like these little spaces that I set up with intentions of, this is my spot of how I know I love the forest. This is my spot of how I know I love like water, and
So if you're a new witch, you may have spaces like this that you're not realizing. Like, I never thought of that, but that's actually
it's a little altar. Yeah,
so
dedicated to that energy.
Like we have these practices, and we don't realize that they're witchy, and we don't realize that they're spiritual. Until we become informed about witchy spiritual practices, and then all of a sudden we look around like, oh my God, I've been a witch my whole life, and I didn't even realize it.
That's what I'm saying. I think that we know early on that we're really connected, then it gets suppressed, but we keep these little habits, and as long as it's not labeled with witch or whatever, something that feels, air quotes, scary, we're okay with
something that society has told us
is bad, wrong,
has attached a negative connotation to. That's the thing. Like, has society said, oh, you can't do this, you can't. Somebody along the way said that witchcraft was bad and that witches were bad. Yeah. And so then for a long time, until we get into it and we realize, you know what, it's nature. First of all, we're connecting to nature. And as far as spells are concerned, it's the same thing as people praying to God to get something. It's an intention,
or Jesus, or the Virgin Mary,
or whoever they're praying to.
Those are deities. I mean, for lack of better terms, those are possible or probable real people in history that now people seek their energy, their guidance, their insight in their world today. Yeah. It's the same way we would use any of the deities from all the different pantheons that witches like to go back to, it's not that far off, even the altars that we have in churches, because I think they call them altars, don't they? Do they call them an altar?
Yeah? I think it is actually called, so I was raised Catholic.
It's called an altar.
And literally, like, I can see the priest.
Altar boys? Is that a thing?
Altar boys.
Fucking altar boys.
Yes.
Why have I never thought of that before?
Altar boys. Yes, they are. And they're the ones that they stand up there and
they light candles.
They light candles.
Yeah, and stuff. I know that from the the Catholic Church.
How dare those organized religions tell us that there's something wrong with what we're doing? They're afraid of our power.
Well, yes. Yes. And if you need a book on that, that's called The Alphabet versus the Goddess. Yeah.
The Alphabet versus the Goddess is a really good book.
It'll educate you a lot.
You'll learn so much about how women and goddesses, the goddesses
of the ancient world,
were
taken down and replaced by
patriarchal
religious men.
Patriarchal religion.
Or men. So they weren't all replaced by men, but a lot of them were, and they were replaced by religious buildings instead. So it got taken over,
like temples and things.
The temples and things, yeah.
I got to go back and listen to that book. That's such a good book.
Oh, such a good book.
So some simple things that we can do, rituals. Some simple rituals that for like everyday magic. Like, what are you doing for everyday magic?
And what does everyday magic mean to you too? If you're just tapping into your inner witch right now, and you're kind of wondering like, well, how do I do that? What does that practice look like? Small rituals are a really good way. And the word ritual is thrown around as a witchcraft word, but it's true. Ritual just means a habit with intention. Like you have.
I just want to address the everyday thing. If you're brand new, also you might get the impression like, do I have to do a spell a day?
Yeah, spells every day.
Spells every day. There's books for a spell a day. There's a lot of energy that goes into spell work, and no, you do spell work when you want to do spell when
you have the energy, when you're really feeling it. Yeah, like when you're really motivated.
So as a new witch, there's not anything that you have to do every single day.
No.
There are things that you can do every day to keep yourself connected to your growth, your path, and your growth, and your the practice that you're building,
Yeah.
like getting out in nature is one of them.
Sometimes it's people reading their horoscopes, like, because that's still trying to connect to something other than yourself.
Yeah. Learning more
Yeah.
about learning tarot.
Yeah.
Learning more about astrology. Creating little spaces in your house that have meaning for you.
Yeah.
A little corner of your house where you've got candles. And if it's just a candle.
Yeah. I love the simpler practices. I don't like that witchcraft gets very complicated and people try to tell you that there's all these things you got to do with it. It's I'm glad that I grew up as in my witchcraft practice without a lot of internet and books. Like there weren't a lot. There was really nothing, I mean, fuck, I started being a witch when like the internet kind of came online, when we still had dial-up.
Didn't you tell me you used to print off?
I used to print off stuff from the online Llewellyn. Yeah.
When it was like shh.
No, yeah, it was the loading the pages. So there were not published books, right? Like Llewellyn has been publishing since the 70s, but you couldn't buy them where I was. You couldn't find them.
Yeah.
You'd have to go to New York or like a really, really big city to find eclectic bookstores, and they called it New Age or self-help or whatever the fuck.
They did. New Age was the like
that was the term for witch.
Yeah, it was the
witchcraft
acceptable.
things.
It was acceptable
New
in
Age.
society to say New Age.
Yeah.
You couldn't say witch.
I know. And it was only about 5 or 6 years ago that I saw the first sign that said witchcraft in a bookstore. That was the section, witchcraft. And I was like, holy fuck.
In like a Borders or something.
Like in a
in
real,
a like big bookstore.
Yeah.
Not
like,
one of the little shops that you might find.
I've never really been in like small personal owned bookshops. I would love that. That sounds so cool. But yeah, it's just wild. It changes. And in my lifetime, it's changed a lot. But I am glad, because what I guess I was getting at is when you see all that, we have so much information today out there on all these things that you feel like you're not doing it right because you're comparing yourself to all the other people.
Absolutely.
And that is so fucking exhausting and overwhelming that we really want to tell you that it's the smallest things that you do. Please don't get sucked into all the heavy expectations. It literally makes me feel like I don't have enough breath to speak on that, because it's so much that people try to tell you need to do, be, say, have, be a part of if you're not doing it. And then everybody wants you to buy something. Oh, fuck. I don't even.
So it's as simple as, and you know what? You've probably been doing this. I mean, you were blowing out candles when you were a little kid and making a wish.
Practice.
I'm like, hello.
Yeah.
But practically speaking, it can be as simple as lighting candles or using candles or getting a couple of crystals. Please don't go out and buy, $300 worth of crystals. You don't need them unless you want to do that.
I like them as decor.
But
I think that's another big difference. Like, you don't have to have a crystal that needs to be working for something. You can have a crystal as decor to bring the energy into your space. It's the same way as having family photos up. You want to remember them. You want to see their faces, in
addition to getting out in nature, because I feel like nature is a self-care thing, because you get out and you get away and you de-stress and you decompress and you get out of your
don't be on your phone while you're sitting out there.
Yes, but you get out of your house and under the weight of maybe
you get out of your environment.
You get out of your environment. You
Yeah.
connect with nature, and that's a form of self-care. And I think that it is very important for witches to practice self-care. And a lot of the things that we do as practices, the witch rituals that we do, they are self-care, because we're lighting a candle for peace, or we're carrying around a crystal for protection.
Yeah.
All of these things are self-care. So I guess if there was one thing you were going to say for new witches, it's like self-care. That's one way to.
A witch's job, you guys. Okay, we're gonna write this one down.
Okay.
A witch's job is to take care of herself and her energy, because through that practice, that is how we become powerful. If that's something that you're thinking you've heard, or you want to feel more powerful. And by power, I don't mean control over others. It means control over yourself, to be that sure of yourself, to walk with that kind of air of confidence, to know who you are, that people can't tear you down or change your mind on who you are and what you stand for. That is real power, and that is what witches truly seek to have for themselves. They're not looking to control everything and the elements and shift the tides and fucking make houses float. That's not what the focus is. The focus is for you to be so completely sure of yourself that when you speak words, you know that they are powerful because you mean them. There's no second guessing. You know exactly what you're saying and that it's right for you. That's real power. I think that that's one of the things that gets really misconstrued within witchcraft too, is what is a powerful witch? Is it somebody who makes spells happen, like, or makes shit float? What the fuck kind of sense would that make anyways? It's somebody who's so sure of herself that nothing can break her or bend her, you know?
Well, and you know what I think about when you say that? I think about boundaries and how women, especially in our society, when you think about the rules around even the unspoken rules of being a woman, and how our boundaries are encroached upon so often, and it's so hard for us. I can think of myself as a young woman and how I did not have a line, or I didn't know where the line was, or the line was blurred.
Yeah.
So when you say about being powerful and about knowing yourself and speaking and being confident in that, I also feel like there's this thing where you're like, where the line is, and you're not going to let, you're just, if people are crossing the line in your life, you know what you need to do. Those people need to go because they don't respect your space, they don't respect you, and I can't even tell you how many years I've spent letting people cross lines with me, that now as 5 years into my practice, I would just know better. I would be able to hold my ground, if you will.
Sure,
maybe that's I don't know if that's the right way to say it.
It's so fucked, yeah.
But I would be able to hold my ground with that and say, and not control them, but control myself and walk
remove
away
yourself.
from it.
That's something that we're just not
away from it.
You taught me a lot about, you never said, you didn't let us be scared. You said, don't be scared, be cautious. And so that was the first education in having a boundary line of being cautious, not letting people step too close, physically and metaphorically. And what the Navy really taught me is that there were so many women out there who didn't know that they could say no. And I have so many stories of women that I met from small towns who didn't know any better, who nobody educated them, that got attention from men, that went on a date and thought they had to sleep with the guy, only to be totally rejected the next day, dismissed, have nothing, then rumors spread about them. And these girls are like, they're brand new into the world almost, and it fucked with them and it debilitated them and their confidence went down. And then, then what comes after you've been hurt or traumatized? Addictions, drinking, it could be anything, I really feel that we could spend a lot of time on this, so I will just move us forward a little bit because we're hitting some things for us that we know that when you're embracing your witchcraft in the reflection period that you have after that, where you understand where things went wrong, things you could have done better. Don't be hard on yourself. Please just know that you have the knowledge and power now, and now you can choose to be different. Don't fret too much about the past mistakes that you think you've made or how you got taken advantage of, because we all have that, and it shouldn't stop you from moving forward with any kind of practice or finding that confidence in yourself. Just because you've made mistakes in the past does not mean that you can't stand up today and say who you're going to be and decide how you're going to live your life. And if people still want to talk shit because they know the old you, fuck them. Be like, get out of my life. I don't need you. If you're not going to help me grow, if you're not going to be there for me stepping up and stepping out, fuck off. Like, you're not healthy for me. People who want you to stay the same and they don't want you to have boundaries and they want you to be gullible, or they want to be able to do whatever the fuck they want with you, those are the people that are keeping you traumatized. They're keeping you stuck. So I feel like when we're waking up that inner witch, we're also waking up that side of ourselves that literally says no more. I'm standing up. There's going to be no more of that shit.
Yeah.
You stand up, stand your ground.
And, something that it can help during times like this, because you're going to be going through some shit. If you're somebody who has dealt with this in your life and you're like finally at a place where you're like starting to own your power and cut these people out of your life, one of the tools that you can use to really help you get through some of these times
process it
is journaling.
Yes, please
journaling is a magical tool, absolutely, that we can use in our practice, and it is especially helpful when you're going through some hard times. that's usually when I write the most furiously.
Yeah.
I came across, I was in a relationship for 15 years with somebody, and I should have left in year 2. And I knew it, and I ignored all the red flags and the sirens that were going off and all of that. And I just decided, because I had invested a year or a year and a half into it, that I was going to stick it out, because I thought that there was a future there. But toward the end of it, when there were so many things happening and I was like so angry and I had nowhere to put that anger, I put it in paper and I wrote crazy stuff down. I came across one of those journals and I was like, oh, look at this. And I read it and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So if you journal, especially when you're upset about something and somebody's like really stepped on your, crossed that line with you, this is a good time to get that out and get that down on paper. And when you go back and read it later on, you'll be like, damn, look at me.
I'm telling
look how much I've grown. Because eventually that person who did that, all those lines that person crossed with me, they can never cross them again with me today.
Yeah.
He could show up on my doorstep today and I'd be like, he wouldn't have the same impact on me. It would be like it would be like the tables turned, and now I have the power, where before I kind of gave my power away. I feel like,
it's and we can think of it as giving our power away, but we can also think about it as you weren't practicing self-care either.
I was not.
That's why these are things that we probably repeat all the time, especially with journaling as self-care, because I think one thing that journaling really helps do is it helps get that energy out of you. Don't let it sit in you. Don't let it fester. I think getting it out on paper allows you to be heard in a way that nobody else needs to hear it. It'll be fine. I know that I wished everybody had a fucking therapist. I think everybody should have somebody to talk to like that. Your journal can also be your therapist, and you can write down things you would say to if you had a therapist. Like, you can treat the journal like that and be like, this motherfucker today, or 5 years ago when this happened, and you write your feelings down about it. And the more that you get it out, the more you're releasing, and the effects will start to diminish because you're being heard by someone. And if you eventually get to a place where you want to talk, then you can.
Well, the other thing that journaling is good for is like not just about getting the anger out and getting the like fucked up shit out, but you can also use it as a place to dream about where you're going to go into the future.
Write
what
your
you
fucking
want.
future dreams
like
down.
What do you want for your life in the future?
Yeah. We got puppy problems again. This one, he cannot stand it if we are not all about him.
So sorry.
Thank you, Tank.
I'm going to really have to figure out something. We're going to put the dog to sleep or some shit. I don't even know.
Don't say put him to sleep. That sounds like you're going to kill him.
No, I mean...
Like, we need to give him something to make him sleepy. I tried to run him and play with him, but he's...
Yeah, so sorry. Sorry to interrupt.
When you hear the loud, weird...
if you're wondering, something that you can do if you're not sure about journaling, like you can get journaling prompts from
everywhere.
You can Google. Yeah, they're all over the place. They're probably on Pinterest.
Shit. ChatGPT now. I didn't even.
Oh my gosh, ChatGPT.
Ask the free ChatGPT thing to give you 10 journaling prompts about whatever you're going through.
Yes.
And then fucking write about it.
ChatGPT is a wonder.
I love it. I think that it just gets things done faster for us. It takes less mental effort for us to get somewhere quicker.
And it doesn't do all the work for you because you definitely have to spend time with it.
It's only as good as your input.
Ideas. It's as good as your input, but it's also a place to generate ideas. Mm-hmm. Another thing, if you're not sure what to write about today, is like, what does my inner witch want to say to me today? Or what does my inner witch have to say to me today?
Imagine it as something caged up inside of you.
What magic can I create this week? You can just come up with all kinds of things. That to write about if you're but usually I find for me it's an emotional situation that I need to get out. It's kind of I use it kind of as therapy.
It is.
That's how I use it.
It's therapeutic.
That's how I use it.
So I know that I used journaling when I was younger because I just always felt different, man. I just always felt like I didn't belong anywhere. It was like, when am I going to find the place where I feel like I actually belong there, that I could stay for a long period of time? Because I've always been, and I labeled myself a gypsy. I was like, I'm just always on the go. I just, I don't stay very long. I'm not trying to have a lot of deep personal connections. I literally have 0 friends today that I had before I moved to Florida. 0. Not one. So, and I've been in Florida 10 years, you know, so it's like, that's how I've lived my life. And I am trying to change that. And I did when I got married, definitely. I was like, oh my God, I have roots. We bought a house, I have a place. I unpacked my very last box. So I had this box that I was carrying around with me forever, you guys, that my mom mailed to me when I was in the Navy. It had her handwriting and the whole, like, the 20 stamps that it cost to send the box, like the whole fucking thing. And all it was like some really old kid toys, like My Little Ponies were in there, and some clothes that I had that were keepsakes that I really wanted. My sister and I, neither of us had girls, so that didn't we weren't putting them on our boys, but I have them because it's like these iconic clothes we wore for pictures or something. I don't know
which one of them was the pink little
skirt. I wore that. And Jolene wore that. The most adorable thing ever. Love that outfit. So there were just some like little things, but this box stayed packed up forever. And I remember unpacking it at the new house, at the house I live in now. And I thought, oh my God, like, do I get rid of the box? That felt so big. Cause I was like, I've been carrying this box around for 20 plus years. And I let it go. And I'm not sure if I cried or not.
We didn't even mention, you know, a ritual that you could do for a cleansing ritual is like start getting rid of some of these things that you've been carrying around forever, and you're like, why am I holding on to this?
What does it serve you? Yeah.
Why is it still packed in my closet 25 years later?
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's still taped up in the box. I opened it one time and then I taped it back up.
Yeah, same. And, this box literally stayed.
That's it. Yeah. Because if you had that from that, I remember packing that box for you. Yeah. Because I could not, you know, she couldn't take everything with her when she went off to the Navy, obviously. In fact, you could take very little.
Very little.
I don't think you took much of anything.
Well, when I went to boot camp, I took nothing but some clothes and shit.
Yeah, but so her stuff, and after she's gone for years, you know, then her room is there with her things. And there were certain things that I knew that she really cherished. Yeah. And so that was the kind of stuff that I put in that box and sent to you when you were probably in your early 20s.
Early 20s, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would have been in Great Lakes still, because you didn't send it to me at Guam. It was at Great Lakes. It got delivered when I was...
so 2000?
99 and 2000, yeah. I went to Guam in 2000.
And you just unpacked it here at this
5
house?
years ago.
5 years ago? So yeah, you carried it around for 20 years.
Yeah.
Moving it from one place to the other and never opening it.
All the fucking lives I've lived. So that could be
another practice that you do as if you're new to this practice. Yeah. I think one of the things that's really good is like to start clearing out old stuff. It makes you feel lighter. And
it's more like a new start.
And it is like a new start. It makes room for new things into your life, new practices in your life. It makes space for that stuff that you're going to start collecting.
Metaphorically and physically.
The stuff that you're going to start collecting, like when you visit a shop and you're like, oh, I just love that crystal. I'm so drawn to it. When we went to Sedona, I bought the
bracelet. Yeah, the Jasper bracelet.
The Jasper bracelet.
I remember.
Yeah. So, you know, as you start down this path, you'll come across things that you'll just be like, I have to have this.
You're so drawn to it. Yeah. So the energy is very connected.
So get rid of that old stuff that you're like, I don't know, my mom sent this to me 20 years ago and I don't know why I'm still holding on to it. It's time to let go. Letting go is good because it makes room for new things.
I think I'm going to mention just one thing because I'm dealing with it right now, and that's called guilt heirlooms. It's heirlooms that you feel guilty about having and not wanting, and you don't know what to do with them because they are heirlooms, and it's just stuff. It's hard for us to believe that it's just stuff. There's many ideas to what to do with it. Call historical societies if it's a really old thing. Call old high schools. Call people. If you don't want to give it to, say, Goodwill or Tidewell or Salvation Army or any of the other places, look for somebody who might appreciate it as much as the person who gave it to you does. Because I think it's really hard.
What kind of stuff are you talking about? All the stuff at Sam?
Yeah, for sure. It's very difficult as people pass to then go through their whole lives and then sort it up and say, okay, this had a lot of meaning to them, but we're looking at it and we're like, that's just a newspaper, or that's just a book, or that's just a really awkward, weird painting.
This is a real thing. I mean,
for sure.
Especially depending on...
It's very difficult.
As you get older. I mean, I already think about you guys having to go through all the crap that I have when I pass.
I know.
And I don't want you to have to do that. It's like, it's too much.
Did I tell you about the book that I think Tony found that said, it's a book somebody wrote that said, nobody wants your shit. How to declutter before you die. That's so funny. I was like, damn, that's so direct, but true.
But it's true. Well, I read an article about how I think it's boomers, they're being like left all this shit from their parents and they don't fucking want it.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
I mean,
tough,
they don't have space for
Yeah,
it. It's
right.
not their thing.
It's not their vibe.
You know, well, it's not just their vibe, but it's like, I didn't make these trips. I didn't collect these
Trinkets and stuff,
and things from all these travels that it's not my thing. And there is guilt around that.
There's
for
guilt,
sure.
100%. So that's where the journaling comes in, because you don't want to feel like you're disrespecting things. But in order to move forward with our own lives, we have to stop holding on to other people's shit. And my dad passed in 2011, and I held on to a lot of his stuff for a long time. So every year what I do around his death date is I release another thing. I say thank you. I give a good cry like I'm about to do now talking about it. But the big things, you let them go and you're just like, somebody else could use this, or it doesn't even work anymore. Why am I keeping this old fucking rickety chair that's like stabbing everybody and breaking all the time? Why?
And I think that's a really good point that you make about kind of making it the ritual of letting go,
yeah,
and saying the words, and just releasing, because with that release, you're also releasing the pain of losing your dad.
Oh yeah,
and the guilt the guilt that you might feel about, letting
not having all this stuff. Yeah.
Because as we let go of the things of the people that pass, it's almost like we're holding on to those little bits of things to hold on to those people. I mean, I can definitely feel that from you.
Yeah.
And they're gone, And
they don't give a shit about it.
No,
they're on the other side going, girl, I don't care about that. Fucking let that go. Why are you hanging on to that?
It's our human selves that that make these give importance
emotional connection to stuff.
Well, they give the things, the material things.
Yeah,
importance.
we give it power.
Yeah, we give it power.
We give it power. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so now
that was very unexpected. The tangent, we don't know. We just fucking trail off onto every other thing.
But I think we covered what we wanted to cover about embracing your inner witch.
Yeah.
So I think the important points of this. I think the important points of this podcast are that you don't have to do all the things that you read. You don't have to feel pressured to do all the things that you hear about, read about, are exposed to when you're starting your witchcraft journey. I think that's really important. You can start as small and as little as you want with a single candle or a single thing or what you want. You probably already have a little altar in your house that you haven't ever thought of as an altar, because it contains little things that you treasure. You're like, these things are important to me, and I've made this little space for them. That's your that's your witchy side coming out when you're doing that. So it's important. That's the important thing. I think that's a really important point of this, is that you don't have to do all the big things that you might feel pressure to do if you're on social media and you're reading about it.
Yeah.
And that the rituals, connecting with nature. So getting out in nature and getting out in nature, like, I think as witches, we are naturally connected to nature. And so if you're not doing that yet, I think that's a really good place to start, is to get out into nature.
Find what you love.
Find what you love in nature.
Yeah.
And if you're collecting little shells or little rocks or pine cones and things from wherever you go, water from the oceans that you visit. And that's another thing to, like, what are you drawn to? Ocean, mountains, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is using journaling as a way to release, let go, work through your feelings, get your anger out.
Yeah. Record what's going on.
Record what's happening.
Definitely.
As your practice.
Yeah.
And then I guess the last one would be to start getting rid of stuff in your life that no longer serves you, just stuff that you've been carrying around, that you got closets packed of clothes that are closets packed. If you're anything like I was, I had every size from a size 10 to a size 18. And I was like, one day I'm going to get back into those size 10 clothes. I finally gave that up because you know what happens when you give up stuff, then you make space for new things.
Yeah.
So I think those are the important things about this.
I think so.
About, embracing your inner witch. Do you think I missed anything?
I don't think you missed a single thing. I was in awe while you were talking that you held all of that in your brain through this hour-long podcast. I'm inner applauding you right now. Like, holy shit. Cheers. Clink, clink.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess in closing, like, as you start on this journey to just be gentle with yourself.
Yeah.
If you have questions about it, we're always available. So you can reach out to us. Yeah, we'd love for you to reach out to us.
Choose your influences,
Choose your influence.
Because when you
remember
go searching
that every
for
witch
stuff,
is different.
Yeah.
And your practice is going to be unique to you.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Jamie's practice. It's not going to be my practice.
It most likely will not mirror anybody else's practice.
Yeah, you're going to build your own. And that's okay.
That's exactly what it should be.
So you can embrace your own idea of what a witch is. Dude, if you want to be wearing a black hat and black all day long, do that shit.
Yeah.
That's
if you
not
want
what
to be
I'm
wearing
gonna do.
fucking tie-dye also, guess what?
Yeah, do that.
You fly that shit.
Yeah,
exactly. It's whatever you want. Whatever makes you feel the best you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
All right. We love you guys.
We love you guys.
And we will see you
on the next podcast.
It sounds so funny. See you on the next podcast. All right. Bye, witches.
Bye, witches.